Ivanka Trump just got trashed by an ex-friend of Melania. One of the fun things that were said about about Ivanka is that she is Donald Trump in a suit. I will explore that a little bit later because it's funny. So now this comes from an interview with Molly Jong-Fast, okay? And so she talked to Stephanie Winston Wolkoff. Now that is the former friend of Melania Trump, who is now promoting a book. We know that this is about. She took some shots at the first daughter, of course, calling her a both princess and someone who is incredibly tone deaf. Well, it's not like she's wrong, but let's be honest. There's exploitation here. Of course, there's Wolkoff, Stephanie Wolkoff, who was trying to get rich off knowing the Trumps and spilling the tea. And then, of course, there's the Trumps that constantly spill tea about everybody. So there are no good people in this story. There's no good guys or gals in this. Everybody's garbage. So that said, let's talk about the trash. Okay. So now, I mean, look, tone deaf, 100%, in basically everything that she does. Remember, Ivanka Trump told unemployed people who are suffering as a result of the pandemic, losing their jobs as a result of the pandemic, to go find something new. Let's find something new, they say. Oh, yes, just find something new. So easy. I mean, that's what she does with purses and houses, and, you know, it's just a new job. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, look, she became an advisor to her daddy. I mean, obviously, she was super qualified. And so she can do that. You can too. Just find something new. Easy. Or you could take Joe Biden's advice and go learn to code. That's super easy too. Out of touch. All of them. Out of touch. Okay. Now, she recalled in Wolkoff recalled a specific instance of being out of touch. Okay. Now, Melania didn't come to D.C. that week, but Ivanka stayed and Donald stayed there. And all of a sudden, that's the weekend. Donald signs the immigration, what was it called? The ban. Yes, the immigration ban. Okay. There's also the family separation policy, which I think was what she was referring to. Now, basically, at that time, Ivanka's in the White House. She's showing the movie Finding Dory. Quote, now, if you couldn't be more tone deaf, children are being separated from their parents, and here you're screening a film where, again, this fish is being separated from its mother. Awesome. She's not very smart, obviously, but even more so, Ivanka Trump doesn't care about people. It's basically, fuck those kids. That's what she's about. I mean, again, they're not her kids. They're not little Trumps or little Kushners. So she doesn't give two shits about them, right? And besides, they're immigrants. I mean, obviously, you're going to expect a Trump to care about an immigrant.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Even though Melania herself is an immigrant. But wait, there's a little tension between those two as well. But look, in the eyes of a Trump conservative, if you wanted to be in America so bad, you should have been born here and born rich or white. Like a Norwegian. Why couldn't they just been Norwegian? And then we would have loved for people from Norway to come over here. In fact, the only issue with that, of course, well, there's a lot of issues with that, including the racism portion of saying, we only want white people to come over here. But when you ask Norwegians, they're like, why would we come over to your broke ass country? And we don't mean, broke as in like you don't have money. You just give it all to the rich. And yet here we at least do some things to help our citizenry in the confines of capitalism. And so we are doing, a little bit of social democracy within capitalism to at least make capitalism somewhat bearable for the majority of our population. You're not even doing the minimum of that. What you were doing with with your country is just an absolute humanitarian disaster. It's like real third world shit. Okay. And so, yeah. All right. There's more. The subject of Ivanka's awfulness also came up. So now, Molly Jong-Fast asked Wolkoff whether Ivanka is either evil or dumb. I love these questions. These are great. And of course, you had a little bit of both. A little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of evil, a little bit of dumb, you know, a Trump. Here's what she said. Listen, I say it as it is. I think it's a mixture. I really do. I think that Ivanka is Donald in a suit, right? I mean, you mean like, okay, Donald Trump wears a suit, but like, I've never seen a like. I feel like conservatives' head would explode if Ivanka Trump wore a pantsuit. You know, because Hillary Clinton was famous for wearing pantsuits, and so any connection between her and Hillary Clinton would just be like, I mean, they couldn't handle it. The brain would leak out onto their shoulders. It wouldn't be there. It'd be way too much. But I get it. I get what she's trying to say. She's basically saying,
uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
She is just like her daddy. She's just as dumb and as evil as Trump. And I think the elder Trump is suffering from some like brain damage. You know, possibly as a result of being old, or, you know, and I'm not trying to be ageist here, or maybe as a result of his like habit, you know, alleged habit, you know, where you know, a little too much of the powder. I mean, I don't know if that's true. That's a rumor, but it does mess up your brain after a while. And so, but even before that, you know, any sort of damage from that potentially, Donald Trump was not a smart person, not a great businessman, and so she is basically like him, but without the drugs, the alleged drugs, and so, and Winston Wolkoff is going to go on to explain what she means by that. She says, apparently it's more than a last name. It's like a brand, right? Being a Trump. All the Trumps are taught to be Trumps. Oh, so it's like a way of life. So like, yeah, you know, if you're a Trump, this is how you are. This is how do you be a true Trump? Well, for one, you got to be born rich, obviously. So no poors allowed. Okay, we don't accept the poors here. Okay, but also part of it is not showing any emotion. Okay. So, emotionless robot, got you. She also said a Trump is a Trump because they are authentically and unapologetically skin deep and also self-serving. So, the only thing that matters is out here, which of course tracks, and self-serving, obviously. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen that. And their attitudes, she adds, and disrespect for each other is, again, you have to get inside to see it. Well, I'm going to pass, okay? Because I couldn't imagine living in that kind of vapid, kind of horrible environment where everybody's out to, you know, stab each other in the back. Again, you've heard of what Donald Trump did to his father. His father, which gave him every single advantage that he had in life, including his name, and the $400 million, was it a $400 million inheritance that Donald Trump pissed away? And then it wasn't enough for him. When his father was suffering from, I believe it was Alzheimer's, something like that, or he was, you know, suffering from that. Donald would maneuver around to try to get the rest of his money, his daddy's money. And so, yeah, like they're pretty gross people. I couldn't imagine being in that situation where the people backstab each other and do all this scheming and all that stuff. It's gross. It's toxic. In fact, speaking of toxic, she then added that Ivanka had tried to once take Melania's place. Gross. I mean, when you think about it in one respect, gross. No. Ooh. I hope that's not literal. Okay. But, here's the quote. The princess wanted to render Melania irrelevant. And Melania refers to them as snakes, Kushner and Ivanka, and they'll do anything to get what they want, and they do. Of course, people. Terrible people. So again, as I mentioned before, this is one of the reasons I'd never want to be part of the club. Okay, I mean, I feel terrible for anybody not in this family who has a Trump name. Terrible, awful. But like, it's not like somebody like me would ever have a chance of being in that club to begin with. Let's be honest, I made like $40,000 last year, so I'm like doing okay, but I'm nowhere near that. Okay, I'm not making the YouTube the high rolling YouTube life. Okay, not for sure. But the problem is, of course, the point is that this is I think what they're like. This is what rich people are like. Okay, a lot of them. This is what the club is like, and I suspect toxicity in the club, but maybe, just maybe, they might even be too toxic for the club, for the socialites. And I can say that New York does not want them, for sure. That's why they're heading, of course, to the billionaire's bunker, as I reported before, and why Ivanka wants to get into Republican politics in Florida, because look,
I'm in trouble.
Politics is toxic to begin with. Okay, it's terrible. It's awful. But in Florida, I think it's something even more special, like specially toxic and terrible, which would be a perfect place for a schemer like Ivanka. Okay. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.